In this episode of Honor DIY, I'm going to show you how I made some Pennywise the Clown Boots. To get into it, these are the materials I used, and with these materials we're going to start. So you never barely see them, but Pennywise does have these like fancy, funny looking boots. And I want to make them because they look really cool. Always wanted to. Start off with the body. I feel like I didn't really cut this right, but I'm just going to like cut out a basic boot shape, which I don't think is really what you do. I don't think this is really what a pattern for a boot looks like. So I would definitely do that differently next time, but this is what I did this time. So we're basically going to cut out these two shapes here, side pieces, and that other piece will be in the middle. And for detail, I'm just actually going to trace it on some dark red fabric and cut out the shape. And I'm going to cut out like multiple shapes for each of the four pieces. Got the like pointy edge red detail there, and I also got that one one shape that's also on the back of them. And yeah, I'm basically just gonna cut those out and trace them on just place them on each of the boots actually, and just sew them on. Like you see here, for each one, pin it down. I can trace it around so I know exactly where to place it. And then after that, I'm just gonna sew it on, and that for each of them. So I had to do this 4 times. Just get it pinned perfectly, and then you should just have them too. I got them there. I'm gonna do the same with the pieces that are on the back of the boots. And once I did those two, see I got the side pieces looking like this now. So I get this. That's how I did this red detail on them. And once those are done, I'm just gonna move on to the middle pieces of the boots, which I think should just look like this. They're just gonna be all red since they're gonna be in the middle of the red. Just gonna sew red onto them too. And I got these here so far. These are my boots so far in the creation process. Of course, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna sew that middle piece in between the side pieces, the like boot shapes, and then kind of start getting them forming. Also sew the middle of the back too. For the soles, basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna trace a shape around my foot. Once I trace it around my foot in some black leather, I'm also just gonna trace it really quick in some craft foam for the soles. That's basically what I'm gonna use for the soles. I'm gonna use craft foam. I'm just gonna trace it in there real quick, and then once I do that, I can make another one, perfectly symmetrical for the other side. And then I'm actually just gonna put a long strip around the sole, like the bottom of my foot, so it just looks like thick, has that detail of looking thick. So I have a strap long enough for it. Make sure it's like all the way around in length, like exactly as long as around. You just want to measure all the way around it so you can get a perfect strap length, or you can just sew it in the middle as you come to the end like this. See, basically like just start from one spot and you sew all the way around. You can just cut it short. Basically that's just easier, honestly, unless you just don't want, if you just want it, because you're gonna have a seam no matter what. I think if you just want one, just sew a long strip. And then, yeah, that's basically how I got the soles there, just sewing them around. And then I'm just going to sew them into the boots, actually. Definitely, if the sole straps are also, like, just as long as the boots, they should fit perfectly. And so, here's them so far. Just put them on, how they look when the soles and the, just pieces are sewn together. In the middle, though, I'm actually just going to take a long white strip, and I'm just going to hem it down so that later the laces won't tear through. And I'm just going to sew it down in between there, as you see. For the laces, I'm just going to actually mark even spots where I want the laces to go through. Like actual shoes, like I just marked on both sides. Make sure they're placed perfectly across horizontally. And then for the detail of metal rings, I just use puffy paint there, as you can see. The top two, I actually just ended up filling in on one side. But once they were dried, I'm just gonna use a seam ripper to poke a hole in them. But before I put in the laces, I'm just actually gonna add the soles now. Before I put in the laces, I used 3 layers of thick craft foam, taped them together, and just placed them into the boots. Definitely tape them to hold them together. And you see I've already laced through the shoes. And when I get to the top one, I'm actually going to put the lace through it just to hold that little flap up. And then you can just cut off the excess strap. And then boom, these are my boots so far. and I had to make like the front of them a little big so they could fit over my Pennywise suit, which I added my old boots to with that pom pom. So that's basically why the boots have like a big front. So I have my own boots and the boots on my suit, and then here they are. But there's one last thing missing. There's also a pom pom on his boots. So basically, I made these pom poms for my Pennywise suit. You can go check that video out to see how I made these, get in more detail about that. But anyway, I made 3 of them for my suit, and I made 2 others for my boots. So I'm going to take the 2 pom poms. I'm just going to mark where they go on my foot, where I want them to go here. See, and once I sewed them on, the boots were done. So now I'm going to reveal them to you to show y'all. These are my very own Pennywise boots. See there, got them there. And like I said, I think I definitely cut out the shape wrong because they're a bit wrinkly in the back. I definitely think there had to be some like curves or dent ends to follow the more shape. I definitely don't think you have a perfect right angle, but I would definitely do that differently next time. But for now, I got these. They still work for me. But yeah, these are my Pennywise boots for my costume, since I'm going as Pennywise for Halloween this year. And yeah, those are my boots. Thank you guys for watching. Go check out how I made my Pennywise costume.